r/askReddit. People of Reddit with permanent scars, how did you get it? Oh, it's my time to shine. Sorry for the long comment, I'll write a TLDR. I was skiing during my last day of holiday in sky class on Friday. There was a huge storm on Thursday resulting in heavy fog, like heavy fog. We weren't able to see more than 3 meters in front, approximately 9 feet. For those who know how group sky class goes, there is a lot of small accident, resulting in everyone being confused. At one point, I collided with someone else and was aiming the wrong direction of the track. The time that it took me to turn around was enough for my group to leave without me. I just had time to see the last student disappear in the fog. I started skiing back pretty quickly. I was accelerating a lot because I wanted to catch the group back. As I was going too fast and wanted to brake by drifting, as it is done with sky, I felt ice under my feet. It means that as I was trying to lose momentum, I was in fact just doing a very cool slide. Less than a second later, my right knee was absolutely smashed on a heavy wood barrier. I don't remember much of the incredible stunt I did over that barrier described as une triple pirouette by a French native. What I remember, however, is my body slowly sliding down in the fresh snow as one of my hand was digging in, hoping to completely stop. Then, absolute pain. I was taken to the nearest hospital, not in helicopter because it was busy rescuing lost hikers in the mountains. I had to be slid down on a stretcher. With not much surprise, they discovered my knee was absolutely destroyed and needed an immediate surgery. It lasted 4 hours, where they putted a bunch of screws and staples, a lot of staples, and left me with 2 heavy scars on both sides of my knee. Later in life, they discovered my knee was not growing correctly because one of the growing zone was not working anymore. There is 2, one on the right and one on the left. It was growing sideways. They had to remove the working growing zone. But then my knee was not growing at all, which caused some problem. So they had to put a long electromagnetic piston inside my femur. Slid it inside the hollow part of the bone, and break it artificially to make it grow. In total, I had 6 surgery that made my right legs covered with scars. Still, looks pretty fun to me. TLDR. I smawed my knee on a barrier and had 6 surgery, leaving me with big ass scares everywhere. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Edit. My instructor still came to see me as I was waiting for an ambulance and gave me my sky diploma. I have one across my face and eye from a car wreck years ago. Like Leonidas from 300. Worth it or not? Women have told me it's sexy, but if I commit a crime, I'm easier to identify. We have the same priorities, my man. Personally, I think it's aesthetically cool and I'd suggest a ski mask to anybody doing shady shit anyways. Cameras everywhere. Thank you? It's the advice you didn't know you needed. Up until age 20 I was scar-free until I was visiting my mum one day and she had a pile of leaves in her yard, so for nostalgia's sake I jumped into the leaves and my arm landed in a bear trap that she had hidden under the leaves to try and catch a skunk. Who the frick hides a bear trap in leaves to catch a skunk? Hard cockrick's mom. WHATTHEFUCK. Bear witnessing from a distance. That bitch. Skunk witnessing from a distance. What bear said? Bear smelling skunk from a distance. You nasty frick. How in the frick do you go until 28 with no scars? Either you are a very smooth human being or I am exceptionally scar prone. Well, I know the latter at least is true. I have 10 plus visible scars at 21. I've noticed that my skin healed pretty well. But as I got older, it's less so. Then, I skin my knee on the asphalt, no scar. Now, I pop a pimple and I get a small scar. Boy howdy am I in for a treat. Then I already get permanent scars from first-degree burns sometimes. Plenty from scraping my knees, some from deep cuts, some from surgery, and one from a pretty severe injury. Nose. Pit bull ripped part of my nose off. Chin. Split my chin open on a marble glass window sill in Las Vegas when I was a kid. Lip. Bit through it when I was a kid. Shoulder. 3rd-degree burns from exhaust port on a water truck. Arm. Slipped on wooden stairs after my dad opted to use pledge cleaner and fell and sliced my arm open on the wall. Legs. Vinyl siding while working at an old job. Forearm. Ex-girlfriend's cat clawed me. I like your ordering style, so I'll copy it. Forehead. Fell onto a fireplace mantle as a kindergartner. Elbows. Fell off my bike and slid down a steep asphalt road. Forearms. 2 cat bites, numerous cat scratches, and 1 dog bite. Fingers. Countless knife accidents and burns while cooking knees. Aforementioned bike accident left ankle. Molten plastic burn from playing with fire right ankle. Fireworks people with exciting childhoods unite. Edit to fix formatting that iMobile goofed. Bounced off a tree at 30 miles per hour once. Another was an accidentally self-inflicted katana wound. A third was having a toothpick-sized piece of wood cut out of my thumb. Edit. Here are some more from me then. If stretch marks are scars, I think they are. I grew in height so rapidly in 8th grade that I got stretch marks on my legs. I was a hooligan as a kid and managed to rip a chunk of skin off one of my knuckles on the table as I ran past. One time in my bedroom, the ceiling light spontaneously cracked and broke. It hit me in the middle of my back and made all the blood happen. It only went probably 1/8 of an inch in and isn't big, but it did leave a small scar. I have impossibly calloused feet because of the number of blood tests I had as an infant. I lost a kidney at 1 week old. I'm not sure how much of it is some kind of hardened scar tissue. Apparently, when I was younger, you could see little white pin prick-sized marks on my feet. Wow, you run fast. They're probably a ninja. They do have a katana after all. Apparently crashed the side of my head into the end of a glass table when I was an infant. I have no memories of it, but according to my parents, it was the only time I ended up in the So basically my entire life I've had this one little slit only about a centimeter from my eye. I'm kinda scared to think what would have happened if my head was turned just a little more to the front. TVT. Thankfully it blends in with my eyelid a bit, though. I have a scar next to my eye too. It also blends into my eyelid a bit. I was a toddler rolling around the floor with a puppy, and I rolled too quickly and bashed my head into the corner of a space heater. I remember being in the hospital room, and someone coming at me with a needle, but then I passed out. I'm still terrified of needles to this day. Very understandable to be afraid of needles after that incident, hoo boy. It's good that yours blends in a bit too, at least. Me and my friend both have a knife collection. Well, we have a habit of swinging knives around and not looking where we're swinging them, so one day I was walking up behind my friend and he didn't realize I was behind him. He swung the knife and clipped my nose, so now I have a permanent scar from the bridge of my nose all the way to my cheekbone. I've had people compare it to an anime character scar. The only plus about it is that you can't see it in pictures for some reason. I was about 7, playing with a large metal conduit pole my dad had in the yard. I was just whipping it around and shit. Decided to grab onto one end and throw it. The pole, being significantly longer than my 7-year-old arms, made a 180 in the air and contacted just above my eye on my brow line. I'm 27 and still have a distinct scar that separates the part of my eyebrow that extends past my eye from the rest of the brow. I was in an accident and took a face full of glass. The only permanent scar from it is literally on my eyeball. A piece of glass slit open my cornea and the iris slid partially out, which actually saved my eyeball. So now I have a weird pupil that looks like the Fatboy Bomb. I just made the weirdest sound and tossed my phone down after I read that. I'm sorry about your eye. Holy shit. Eye still works. Actually see better out of it than before. Kinda like ghetto LASIK, I guess. Gives me a cool story. Bet part being the grown man who passed straight TF out when I showed him, because it can't be that bad, right? These days people usually just double take when they see it these days. Had an eye doctor tell me that if the iris hadn't slid out and sealed the incision, my eyeball probably would have deflated, and I'd have lost it. If you get real close, you can see the one stitch they couldn't take out because the scarring. If I could figure out how to upload an image, I'd share. Edit. Link http://imager.com/a/r37tpqp. Sorry, my front cam is shit, but I couldn't get a good pic in the mirror. I had open heart surgery at birth, 16 and 17. I'm a girl with a giant chest scar from my clavicle to my abdomen. So thankful to my parents for treating it like a normal thing. I don't even own a turtleneck. When you're part of this club, you call your scar a zipper. I wear my zipper proud. Got my zipper at 16. Kids, wear your seatbelts. A former cellmate got his zipper when he was 8 or 9. He was in back-to-back car accidents with his grandparents. In the first one he was only slightly injured, but his grandparents were heavily injured. Then a few weeks later he had an accident with his other grandparents where he was heavily injured and his grandparents were killed. Jesus Christ, I wouldn't let your friend anywhere near a retirement house. Don't worry, he is a kindergarten teacher now. Oh, I have a zipper. I got mine at 25. I'm 57 now and I haven't worn a turtleneck since I was 12. Did you wear bikinis too? I sure did. This right here. Thank you for being comfortable in your own body, possibly inspiring others to do so as well. I have a scar that stretches all the way across my neck just above my collarbone from a thyroidectomy due to thyroid cancer. And 2 bumps from the drains. I always said it looks like an upside down, but I like zipper too. A double incision mastectomy. I threw a going away party titled "Thanks for the Memories." Nice, now you can go out topless, man. If you haven't already, check out the comedian Tig Notaro. She also had a double mastectomy and occasionally performs her set topless on stage. Her humor might not be everyone's bag, but she's easily one of my favorites. My time to shine. When I was 8, I walked into my bedroom at the precise moment that my brother took a wiffle ball bat and hit a golf ball straight at my forehead. Knocked me out and woke up with stitches. It's not nearly as noticeable as it used to be, but still visible for sure. This is glorious. I did this to my brother with a shovel, narrowly missing his eye. Twice. When I was 5, my cousin had a sleepover. All the girls ran into her room. I was in the rear. Somehow a stool fell on my head in the rush. I remember crying lying on the ground. I looked over at blood on my hand. Woke up to sticks popped out of my head. Shout out to my uncle who's a doctor. That would have been a nicer visit. Head. Cousin whacked me with a hockey stick when we were playing a game as kids. Leg. Car accident, tore 2 muscles in my knee and required surgery to repair right wrist. Super tiny scar that looks like an acne scar. Had a really bad pulmonary embolism, and they went in through my wrist to look at my heart to make sure the stress on my lungs wasn't doing damage to my heart. It wasn't, so we were able to treat the embolism with medication rather than surgery. Fricking cousins. I, 3, got beamed in the forehead with a Hot Wheels by my cousin, 8. I have a little chunk scar in my forehead from that. My brother and I loved wrestling as kids and had absentee parents. I ended up with 3 ligament tears in my neck from a full-on piledriver incident. Not a big deal at 4 but at 40 it's fricking misery. He also used a transition wall in our house as a turnbuckle one time and slammed my head into the corner. That pretty much split my scalp about 3 inches, luckily above the hairline. Many stitches. Replacing an old door, much heavier than expected, slipped while carrying it away, fell backwards, hinge plate still attached to the doorframe went right through my pants and put an inch-deep flesh wound in my right ass cheek. Then the door fell on top of me and made the whole clusterfrick twist like a bayonet. Put some Neosporin and superglue on it, found some new pants and finished replacing the door. Yes, I was up to date on tetanus shots. Also, yes, I should have went to the doctor anyway, but I did not feel like explaining that to them. I was working at McDonald's and I was doing basic grill maintenance when a piece of hot charred meat fell on my hand and burned me. It hurt like hell. McDonald's classic. Happened the same to me, but it wasn't meat that fell on my hand, just lots of oil. Still hurts really bad. They've mostly faded, but I had burn scars all over my hands and arms from working at McDonald's. Shit sucked. Same, at McDonald's, but it was by the top of the grill while doing basic maintenance cleaning them and the thing collapsed while my arm was under it. Lucky I caught the thing with my other arm so it didn't clamp down to the bottom, but it did get the top of my elbow. Breast cancer survivor. Double mastectomy. I'm BRCA1+ and was diagnosed at 30 with a 4-month-old. We did IVF to test our embryos and I'm currently 8 weeks with our BRCA1 baby girl. That runs in my dad's side of the family. It's one of my worst fears. I already had a scare, but it was nothing. I read an article about a woman who had both of hers removed right after she finished breastfeeding, because it ran so clearly in her family. Apparently, it could be traced back to the Black Death. People who didn't contract it despite being surrounded by it also had a tendency to develop cancers when older. This woman's ancestor was the sole survivor on the farm where she lived, went on to have babies, and died of breast cancer at 40 or 50-ish years old. And most of her female descendants suffered the same fate. I need to get tested for the gene. I really hope I don't have it. I'd rather know and get a preventative mastectomy than suffer when I'm older. Lung surgery. Had a ball removed. Acne got killed by chemo. Dog bit my face. Had a Metaport implanted into my chest. Wow. That's wow. All by age 18. I'm currently 19. Damn kid. I may have more scars but nothing like yours. Mine is mostly self-inflicted by doing dumb shit. You are a one tough young man. Thank you. I don't think I'm strong, but I appreciate it. Self-harm. Thankfully I am in a much better place now, and to anyone going through something similar now, you are enough. You are worthy, you are valid, and you do not deserve pain. Be kind to yourself, you deserve it. 95% PF My scars are also from self-harming but also in a better place for 10 years or more now. Went about 4 years without cutting, and messed that streak up recently. Went off my lithium a few months ago and got into a bad place. Not a good time. Wearing long sleeves in 90-degree weather to hide your arms is not fun. Appointment in the morning to hopefully get back on meds, just not doing lithium again. Congratulations on making it those 4 years, that's huge. You learned a lot of coping techniques during that time. Relapses and new crises can happen, but they don't cancel that out. Good luck with your appointment today. I hope that you were able to find a treatment plan that works well for you. Just finished my APPT. Starting Vraylar today, as well as naltrexone. Wish me luck. It's been years since I did, but thank you for this. It's nice reading support when you don't get much IRL. Especially from someone who's been there. Sometimes I feel like a damn fraud who cut for attention, but I know that's not true because I rarely told anyone and kept them in hideable spots. I just feel like I'm faking all my issues, even though I'm diagnosed and got it while institutionalized. I try to talk about things that bother me and get told to quit complaining. I'm too old to be acting how I do, and I never feel like I'm being over the top until afterwards looking back. I just wish it was easier to change my mentality and habits. It sucks when it doesn't feel like your brain belongs to you. I know exactly what you mean. When I tried to ask my family for help, all they told me was that there were so many other people out there who had it worse than me, so I had no reason to be depressed. That always made me feel so much worse. I already had so many self-worth issues, so to imagine that I wasn't even good enough at being mentally ill made me feel terrible. But in the end, I came to understand that mental illness doesn't care about your place in life. It doesn't care if you have a roof over your head, or a stable family life, or how much money is in your bank account. It will hurt anyone it wants to, and those of us who have struggled with our mental health do not have to be ashamed. Literally falling off the monkey bars when I was 7. My feet were probably no more than 2 feet from the ground. I don't even know how I landed in a way that would break my arm. But bam, double compound fracture. I thought the bones were rocks that got embedded in my skin from the ground, so I tried to pull on them. 6 surgeries later, 5 of which took place in 10 days, lots of codeine and morphine, and I now have a lightning bolt-shaped scar up my entire forearm. Plus 2 little entry scars where they took the metal rods out. Huh, small world. I knew someone in my elementary school who was injured in the same way. Maybe it was me. Threw a knife through my foot at 5 jumping on the bed, busted my head running around the coffee table. Busted my head playing football. Broke my helmet, screw lacerated my head drunkenly shooting a gun. Scoped exhaust burn on the forearm from a generator screwdriver through the thumb bike pedal got my shin, so many random scars on my arms from manufacturing. Same with my hands. Appendicitis is a bitch. Did they remove it with modern-day laparoscopy or did they open you up? Laparoscopy, fortunately. My dad had his removed 30 years before I had mine removed and has the big, long scar along his lower abdomen. My 3 little ones look better in comparison, but I've always hated the one at my belly button. Like your dad, I have that long scar. I've been wanting to get a zipper tattoo on it for many years in honor of my mom. My mom, before she passed away, used to joke about wanting to get a zipper tat on her scar from heart surgery. Mine was removed in 1975. I have a 1-inch scar in my lower abdomen. I wonder if mine is somewhat smaller because I was a child at the time. Had mine in 1979. Was so small, preemie, that it grew as I did. Your story is luckier than mine. I was one of the first to get it done by laparoscopy at my hospital. They messed something up and almost killed me from a staph infection. 3 additional surgeries in a month in the hospital. I now have what looks like a second S on my stomach. I got cut from my belly button down to my pants line. So my scar is now worse than doing the old school way. I had a similar incident, but it was an ongoing appendicitis. They decided to try to treat it with antibiotics, which didn't work 3 times. They eventually went to remove it and it had become an appendix mass. A few days later and I ran a really high temp. It was sepsis. Lovely. They ran another course of antibiotics and eventually said they needed to open me back up, but they couldn't anesthetize me again. I literally wouldn't let them near me and in the end said I did it myself. So they gave me a sharp enough object to open myself back up and they watched in awe as I did as I said I would with the help of a mirror. The interns loved it and the docs were also quite surprised, but it saved my life as a foul yellowish pus oozed out. I was patched back up and had a suction device placed over it for the coming weeks. Still a gnarly scar but leaves an interesting story to tell. My son had his appendicitis treated with antibiotics. A month later he was back and having an appendectomy. It wasn't pleasant. I understand why they try to treat it with antibiotics as it's the easier path compared to surgery, but to try and cure it 3 times with antibiotics was just so incredibly frustrating and painful. My son's doctor said only about 5 to 10% of people actually get appendicitis a second time. The protocols at the particular hospital were to remove the appendix if it occurred again after being treated by antibiotics. Scar that runs from my shoulder to my elbow. Shattered my arm riding my bike with my dog, a Labrador. We stopped. She decided to take off without telling me. Ripped me completely off my bike. I have a permanent titanium plate in my arm. Broken C2, surgical scar. Me too man, got mine from a car wreck I was in as a teenager. Amateur rocket failure. I have titanium plates in my leg and jaw. I had a similar thing happen with my dog who just saw her best doggy friend and took off without me giving the okay. My entire right knee is scar tissue. It's such a large scar and the story behind is the most ridiculous one lol. Bad farming accident. My arm was almost removed by a PTO. That happened to my friend's father. He was in the field alone at 5 a.m. Got his sleeve caught in the PTO. By the time he got out of it he was completely naked and missing an arm. My friend Devon was driving by going to work and seen him, only car on the road out there in the sticks. He was airlifted to the hospital and he did live, minus his left arm. He jokes about it now, calls himself the one-armed bandit. Should see him banging gears in the old 10-speed potato trucks. He's still got it for sure. He says he might get rid of their square swimming pool and put in a round one, 'cause he just keeps swimming in circles lol. He seems to take it all pretty good now. This was 15/16 of a year ago now, but even 2 years after he used to crack jokes about it. It all definitely changed his attitude towards life. He used to be a fairly cranky old farmer, but since the accident he's generally in a great mood, very friendly, funny, etc. Said he's just thankful to be alive, and that he took too much of it for granted. I hope you have mentally and physically recovered from such a horrific accident, as much as possible. Things can go very bad very quickly with tractors in general. I'm 100% fine. Happened 40 years ago when I was 7. Years later the same tractor broke both my legs. I was on a little homemade trailer, put my legs off the back through the floorboard planks, we went over some rough ground. And crack, I had extra knees in my lower legs. I really relate. My grandfather lost his hand in a single-row corn picker. He would drive a stick with one hand and eat in an ice cream cone at the same time. Brushed by a minivan who was not paying attention and clipped my eye while I was riding my bike. I did a forward flip and slid on the ground, losing much skin on my right shoulder. When I was 8, cute kitty get angry, smack hoeman, me, claw stuck in my arm rips down my arm as I pull it away. 2-inch long gash still visible. Cute 8-week-old puppy dog licking my face takes a chomp at my upper lip. Needle tooth goes all the way through. Thanksgiving Day trip to to get it cleaned and stitched. I drooled on myself from the anesthetic throughout dinner. Dog and I never spoke of it again his 12-year life. All-time great dog he was. Picked up a payphone receiver. Yes, children, once upon a time, there were public payphones. Someone had booby-trapped with a razor and have a scar that looks like I tried to cut wrist, except nowhere near a vein thankfully. Man, I believe you, but number 4 sounds like an urban legend. Like they used to warn us about people handing out homemade caramel apples with razor blades inside on Halloween. Razors in apple never happened. Razor on payphone happened at least once. Urban legends, the plausible one, are often anecdotes that are exaggerated and purported as common. I can believe it happened as a random one-off. I wouldn't believe there was any real trend to it. Born with a strawberry mole, a benign tumor in the middle of my back that was removed when I was 5, fell face first onto a sharp rock on a gravel road, chunk out of my forehead. Couple years later, glass broke while I was washing it, sliced hand. 15 odd years ago, same year, I fell off my bike and gashed my chin, but saved my brain. Wear a helmet. A bone chip from a previous ankle injury floated around and then got tangled in the nerve bundle on the top of my foot. The pain was astounding. It made my leg flop around like a fish. There's a weird scar on the top of my foot where they took it out. I have a scar on my head from going over the bars of a motorcycle. Side of my face and arm from a German Shepherd attack. A bent finger from a horse. I got stabbed by a ______, but he hit me in a rib. And hey, I am a peaceful man. This guy was ass. Ha ha ha. I have 2 scars from air nailers. One was a 16p. Didn't hurt tall, you pull them out. Ha. Good burns on my arms from welding and soldier. I am a mess. I've got loads of little spots on my arms from welding. I'll just tack it and then I'll put my sleeves on, I would say before just continuing to do the job. Several burns and a melanoma or 2 later, I'm much more fastidious about wearing my sleeves. I have scars on my neck, back of my neck, my hip, my back and right below my belly button due to having a chordoma brain tumor when I was 9. Sorry to hear that. I hope you are better now. I've been cancer-free for years now cause I'm now 20 and this happened back in 2011. Noise, kicked cancer's dick off. Respect, man. I have acne scars all over my arms, chest and back. I'm a renowned pimple popper and I've been picking at my skin ever since I started getting acne. I'm my in 20s now and I'm trying my best to stop, but I still find myself standing in front of the bathroom mirror for hours looking for the next juicy pimple to pop. SMH. I also have a scar on my forehead that I got when I was little when my sister pushed me off the bed and my head landed on the edge of a dresser. Lol. Likewise, luckily the marks on my back and center chest are starting to heal up, but I think the facial scars are gonna stay with me for life. I had some from German measles as a kid. I'm sure lots of people have probably judged me for the scarring. And oh boy am I bad with pimples too, but I never got the chance to have perfect blemish-free skin, and in some ways it sort of meant I got used to not even really second-guessing it. What I'll say from experience is you can be scarred, chubby, out of shape and sporting a few tics from spectrum disorders, people will date you just fine. Low confidence and stressing about it are much more unattractive than the flaws themselves. Same. I got really bad cystic acne when I was 12 all over my face, neck, back and chest and I would always scratch and pick. Now my face is cleared up for the most part with only occasional breakouts, but I have keloid scars all over my back and some on my chest and my neck just looks disfigured and it's where I break out the most. Same here. I don't really have breakouts anymore, but the scarring is here for good. My chest was the worst scarred for me, so I got it tattooed over. But this is funny. I got a demon done on my sternum, so now I have an acne-scarred demon. Lol. I guess I'm fortunate that mine always hurt way too much for me to think about touching them. Head. Thrown around the bed of a truck body. Shanked in prison. 4 scars. My ex stabbed me a few times. We were not in prison though. Actually the first 2 times were long and deep cuts. Not sure if they were technically stabs. 7 inches long from one side of my ribcage to right under my left boob. Said he was going to cut it off. That one was deep, required in and out stitches. Second slice. Stab was to my face, 4 inches down the side of my face, just outside stitches there. Lastly a bona fide stab to my belly, 3.5-ish inches depth. I finally left after that. He stalked me for a good while, in the 90s, before stalking laws where I live, but frick him. I'm still here and he's a little bitch. Yeah, that's pretty fricking brutal. What the actual frick? How did he get away with that and not go to prison? Didn't they ask you for a statement when you had to get stitches? Sounds like a fricking psychopath. I'm sorry for your experience. How big was the blade? I've heard they use pretty small blades to hit you up multiple times and have you live. When I got stabbed they used batteries they basically empty and then fold over to create a box cutter. 45 stitches in my neck and chest, 17 in my stomach, 8 in my legs somehow. Huge scars that are still very noticeable. So I guess they more sliced than stabbed there. I got stabbed like 15 times with a piece of fence someone got called a poker. Maybe went 3 or 4 inches in. Those all went into the side of my ribcage, and let me tell you that shit hurts. Not sharp, just basically a blunt metal thin piece of chain link fence. Makes an audible popping sound as it breaks the skin. After a few, when the blood starts to flow, it sounds like how you'd imagine stabbing a gallon of milk would sound, but almost like this pasta sound as well. Squishy noises. Holy, scare me straight as a fricking board. These are not normal things to endure. Holy shit. 4 big bite marks on my thigh after a seal bit me. We were diving with seals, and one of the tourists pulled the tail and was mean to a big male seal who swam away and bit me on his way. I'm lucky he didn't pull, as his teeth connected inside my thigh. He could have easily taken most of my thigh muscle with him. You got a seal bite that didn't require amputation? You were a lucky ducky. Seal mouths are filthy, and because infection is like guaranteed, most people bitten lose at least part of a limb. I didn't know that. We went straight to the hospital and they washed the wound throughout. Like they would put the syringe in one bite and the medication would come out of the other end. They said it was still likely to get infected because it was so deep, but luckily it didn't. Wow, that's amazing. You must have a really stellar immune system to help fight that off. Glad you were able to get through that with just a bite. Thanks. I was pregnant at the time, so maybe that helped too. Literal scar in my left foot I got sometime around when I was around 10 years old. Honestly, I don't even remember what happened, only that it somehow was cut down to seemingly the bone. I remember being scared as I saw the blood go. Bad as it was though, I just wish that was the worst thing to ever happen to me. Oh no, that must have been terrible. But I'm also curious, what other worst things have you experienced? I'd rather not say. Not good memories to recall. Neither is my foot getting cut bone deep, mind you, but at least that physical pain and trauma from that wasn't extremely long lasting. God bless you, brother. I know your pain. Make sure you have someone IRL you can talk to. Don't let that shit fester or you'll never heal. I crashed into several other children while we were using those old square scooter boards in the gym. Split my lip and had to get stitches. Everyone after that got classes on how to properly use the boards, and they definitely were more attentive to kids using them in any way that could be dangerous after that. My B. Those things were the bomb though. Oh God, until you got your finger caught under one. Poured scalding melted sugar onto my palm to test how much cooler it's gotten. It's very deceiving. It's mostly gone now, but I have a scar from microwaving leftover queso. Shit was about the consistency of water when it sloshed out of the not hot at all styrofoam cup onto my thumb. Skipped water and went straight for a towel and wiped off a thick slab of skin with the cheese. Fricking yikes. Same, but meat sauce, not cheese. Mom asked me to stir the sauce before leaving to the beach. We live like not even 2 blocks away. So I was stirring until the spoon got caught on a piece of like pork or sausage, and when I pulled it splashed onto me and burned like frick. Left a gross scar on my like lower abdomen, but it's pretty much gone. Edit. I meant to mention the beach because I was in a bathing suit. I still have a slight, barely noticeable scar across my abdomen from cooking as a teen. I was making Kraft mac and cheese. It's the cheesiest. And my totally unmedicated, uncaffeinated, ADHD having ass hadn't thought ahead to prep for the part where you take that pot full of magic over to the sink to strain the water off those scrumptious little smiles. So I grabbed the pot in one hand and the strainer in the other and walked across the kitchen to see the sink heaped with dishes. I thought I could make it work, but as I moved to pour it, the strainer slipped, and I instinctively lunged to grab it. I lost my grip on the pot of water in the process, and it dropped straight down onto the floor, landed bottom down, and sent everything in it straight back up in the air and across my lower stomach. I remember it burning like hell for a couple seconds and then suddenly not feeling hot or painful at all, which is why I didn't do anything about it right away and didn't think it was really that serious, but the pain came back tenfold a few seconds later, and it had cooked through a couple layers of my skin by the time I decided to tell my mom. She was like, "Let me see," and as soon as I pulled up my tank top she flipped out, threw me in a cold shower to lower the temp, and then was like, "Why would you think this wasn't serious? Dude, you cooked your stomach." I totally did though. I had second-degree burns across like 6 inches of skin. I'm pretty sure those pain-free couple seconds just meant I'd flash-cooked my nerves. You're damn right. I was making caramel for the first time a few weeks ago. The sugar got liquidy and caramelly, so I turned the stove off. I poured it over the pudding I was making, and just to try what it tasted like I scooped up some of the leftover in the pot with a spoon. Blew on it to cool it off and stuck it into my mouth. Turns out that stuff cools off really easily on the surface, but the inside stays molten sugary lava. Basically, it got stuck to the roof off my mouth, scalding hot, and it solidified in place. When I was finally able to get it off, it ripped a chunk of skin from the roof of my mouth. Eating was not fun for the next few days, but to my surprise, skin in your mouth heals surprisingly quickly. Crashing into a brick sign going 60 miles per hour. Wait a min, I got a scar on my leg the same way. It was brick sign with something pointy exposed. Where is scar in? Oof. Have you healed up from your injuries? The sign I crashed into was a flat brick concrete advertising sign for a local company. It was either a big ravine or the sign, and luckily I made it into the sign. I got a pretty gnarly keloid scar on my elbow. It extends halfway up my arm. My rib cage is also pretty malformed from that wreck as well. Damn, that is some bad business with scar. You made it sound simple. Did you heal up properly? Yeah, it's been some time from my injury, 3 years or more so. I tend to forget about it. It's been 7 years since that happened. The only real lasting effect I have from the wreck is asthma. Considering the alternative, I'm doing really well. Asthma from a wreck? That's a thing? I had a lot of internal injuries as well. Lung scarring led me to become asthmatic. Dang, that sucks. Glad you're okay other than that. Chainsaw snapped back. Yikes. Gordon doesn't need to hear all of this. He's a highly trained professional. I have a chainsaw story as well. My dad was sawing some limbs off a tree above him. One of the limbs came down and hit him in the face. He let go of the chainsaw with one hand and it came down and sliced him across the leg, just below the outside of his hip. He had a handful of change in his pocket and that stopped the chain, saving his leg. Well, most of them are on my hands. People either assume I'm a badass and get into fights or a dumbass who fights walls. Neither are true. I'm just clumsy AF. I got when my sister was holding a potato peeler and I didn't see it and went to grab some food she was preparing. I tripped and accidentally punched through a lampshade. The metal wiring inside took out a decent chunk. Accidentally dropped my knife while woodworking. Cut my finger to the bone at an amusement park with my friends. Decided to race one to the next ride and accidentally collided with one of those stone trash cans. Ripped skin about half the size of a penny of one of my knuckles. At the deepest point it went to the bone. I did clap push-ups and knuckles push-ups and decided to combine them for disastrous results. My hands are peppered with smaller, barely visible scars from basically anything you can imagine a dumb teen doing. Barbed wire been there. Girlfriend's nails done that. Edit. Also have one on my thigh because one of my friends accidentally stabbed me with my own knife. I have so many little burn scars on my hands. I love baking, but I'm also unable to reach into the oven without burning myself at least once. I have a big L-shaped scar under my arm from when I was a kid. I had to get stitches. I was trying to get my pajamas out of the top drawer of my wooden dresser and the side of the drawer was all chipped. It went into my armpit as I was too small to be digging in the top drawer anyways. And it dug the skin out of my underarm. I still remember the drive to the with my dad. I also have a scar in my eyebrow from playing football in the garage with my older brother. He pushed me into the couch that was in the garage. Don't ask why, and I hit my face on the arm, which had that old school gold rimming on it. And it busted my eyebrow open. Stitches again. I tripped on the road while walking the dog and scraped my knee really, really bad. As in, my mother thought I'd broken a bone at first. That was about a decade ago or so and I still have a scar on my left knee. Second story is actually my dad's. He's got a scar. Somewhere, I forgot exactly where, but it was either his back or his left shoulder, from getting his skin nearly scraped off by the alpine slide when he worked at Action Park as a teen. Nice. You have made it to the end already. Thank you for watching. If you aren't already subscribed, please do so, as there will be more videos like this in the near future.